High Andean wetlands and wetland complexes include those that are part of the Paramos, Halca, Puna and other high Andean ecosystems, such as glaciers, lakes, lagoons, wet meadows, bofedales, malines, highland vegas, salt pans and peatlands, rivers, water streams and other water bodies including its catchments, defined as wetlands within the Ramsar Convention classification. The high Andean wetlands are found in the countries that are crossed by the Andean Range: Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela and Costa Rica, which includes a Paramo ecosystem complex within its territory with the same ecological characteristics of the Andean Paramos. In order to contribute to the conservation of high Andean wetlands, the countries that are part of the High Andean strategy have included 25 sites in the list of wetlands of international importance of the Ramsar Convention, covering around 3,346,293 hectares. High Andean wetlands play a vital role in the development of the Andean basins, as well as other hydrographical systems, since their streams flow to the Amazonian watersheds and to the Pacific and Caribbean coasts. The wetlands and wetland complexes maintain a unique biological diversity and are characterized by a high level of plant and animal endemism. They are also shelters and breeding zones for a great number of species with conservation problems, particularly migratory birds, fish and amphibians. In addition, they are a fundamental component of the habitat for highly economical and ecological important species like vicuna, guanaco or chinchilla. Likewise, the Ramsar Convention has considered them fragile ecosystems. Their high level of fragility is related to natural causes, i.e. extensive droughts at Punas, as well as anthropic causes, i.e. unsustainable agriculture, livestock overgrazing and unsustainable mining at the Paramo and Puna. Many are being lost rapidly, mainly because of bad management and lack of knowledge of their economic and ecological importance. The high Andean wetlands are an important component of the regional economy. To a great extent, they provide the fresh water consumed by millions of inhabitants in the Andean capital cities, Bogotá, Lima, Quito and Sucre. Employment and genuine income opportunities for the communities living in these areas are provided by activities such as fishing, leather and wool trade, as well as other products manufactured from vegetal fibre. The fibre from vicuna is one of the best in the world, and alpaca has very good qualities. Therefore, raising camelidae is becoming very important for the economy of people in the Puna, and it represents a sustainable economic alternative. The high Andean wetlands are sites of great beauty and unique landscapes that gather a high number of endemic species and a very valuable cultural diversity that represents an enormous attraction for ecotourism and scientific tourism. The main good provided by the high Andean wetlands is water, as well as the most relevant ecosystem functions and environmental services related to water resources, including water storage, flow regulation, hydroelectric generation and others. Actually, one of the most important services is a permanent supply of drinking water for human use, fresh water for agricultural land irrigation and hydroelectric generation. In fact, many cities depend on the high Andean wetlands due to these fundamental services. Other environmental services that should be included are ground stability, landslide and alluvion prevention, maintaining environmental balance to allow the survival of unique flora and fauna species, carbon fixation, atmosphere purification and climate stabilization. High Andean wetlands have been globally considered areas of high biological importance. However, the conservation assessment of the terrestrial ecoregions of Latin America and the Caribbean reports that the conservation condition of Páramo and Puna is critical to vulnerable. The threat to these ecosystems jeopardizes high Andean wetlands because they are highly vulnerable and fragile ecosystems, particularly in terms of development pressures based on unsustainable practices and climatic change. Nevertheless, the high Andean wetlands constitute a resource of high biological, ecological, economic, social, cultural and recreational value. They have not received the necessary attention from the government, the private sector and other actors. Therefore, they are rapidly becoming one of the most endangered natural environments. The most relevant causes of wetland degradation are water extraction from mining and agricultural uses, fragmentation of water systems, intense urbanization processes, uncontrolled burning, pollution, and the construction of great works of infrastructure, high population growth, and poorly integrated and segmented development planning. The Regional Strategy for Conservation and Sustainable Use of High Andean Wetlands was formulated within the Ramsar Convention framework, with the active participation of the countries that enclose high Andean wetlands and air-related areas. International organisation partners related to the Convention, IUCN, WWF, Wetlands International, BirdLife International, as well as the Ramsar Regional Training Centre, and two active technical networks, the International Working Group on Páramos and the High Andean Flamingos Conservation Group. This strategy is a guiding framework for regional cooperation among the countries involved within a 10-year projection period. Its purpose is the conservation and sustainable use of wetlands and wetland complexes in Páramos, Chalca, Puna and other Andean ecosystems. The strategy firmly recommends participation of national and local government bodies, indigenous, peasant and black communities, productive sector, NGOs and academic and research institutions, in coordination with supranational instances such as the Ramsar Convention, the Convention on Biological Diversity, the Andean Community of Nations, the Andean Development Corporations, Mercosur, international organizations related to the Ramsar Convention, and the technical networks that work at Páramos and Punas, as well as other interested actors. The general objective of the strategy is to promote sustainable use and conservation of the high Andean wetlands through the implementation of a long-term regional management process among the involved countries, in order to maintain the goods and services provided by the wetlands and reduce the existing impacts and threats. Likewise, looks for conservation-orientated actions and the wise use of high Andean wetlands and wetland complexes that are part of the Páramo, Puna, Chalca and other Andean formation ecosystems, as well as functionally associated ecosystems. For its development and execution, this strategy is targeted to local, rural and urban beneficiary communities, local and national government entities, NGOs, productive sector, e.g. industry, trade, tourism, agriculture and mining, and academic and research institutions related to the conservation and wise use of high Andean wetlands. Even though the strategy will be a framework tool of suggested actions on a regional basis, it will also serve as a foundation to prepare and/or update the action plans for high Andean wetlands in each country, which will be the instruments to articulate conservation and wise management actions in every nation. To make this possible, it is necessary to count on the commitment of the governments, and an evident political will, in order to ease information exchange, build capacities devoted to favour sustainable management of the High Andean wetlands, and preserve them to continue providing essential goods and services, which derive from their water resources and biodiversity to millions of people in this region of the world.